Now let's get out of here before Dottie and the planning committee string us up for ruining the show.
You two, stop right there. Nothing like what you two just did up here has ever happened in the history of our talent show.
Dottie, we are so
Hilarious. That was the most hilarious act we've ever seen. Wouldn't you all agree?
Oh, yes.
You two, come on up.
Even an android can cry or laugh or get raving drunk off chewing gum. This is MCU spoilers.
We're back, baby.
Nice.
Phase 4.
I don't want to do like a long introduction. I want to get right into WandaVision. Just tell us like why you started watching WandaVision. Superhero correspondent PK. Go ahead and introduce yourself first.
Superhero correspondent PK here, recording from South Bend, Indiana, and I started watching it because we were gonna do a pod about it.
You started watching it after I asked you like yesterday to be on the pod.
No, if you've been listening to these podcasts or this podcast and you've been on a superhero episode, you know I'm a big Marvel fan. So it's the start of Phase 4, even though I thought we would have had Black Widow by now. But I'm happy to be back.
Awesome. Brett, how did you get into WandaVision? And where are you recording from?
Yeah, this is Brett. I'm recording out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'm like with PK. I'm a big MCU Marvel guy. I don't know much about this at all, but I think we were just looking for something to watch, and I said, hey, WandaVision came out, and we watched it.
Korey?
Hello, this is Korey, recording out of Simi Valley, California. I got into WandaVision at 12:01 a.m. last week on Friday, the minute it came out, because Marvel, they have my money, man. I'm in for whatever they make. They've made such good content over the years that they just got me, and yeah, they could put out whatever and I'm on it. And this is one that I'm on, and this is one that I like.
For people who don't know, 12:01 his time is 3:01 real people time. So
AM.
Yeah, AM. So not make believe West Coast time.
This is Josh from Goshen. I'm hosting tonight's episode. We're going to cover WandaVision, episode 1 and 2. I went from thinking this looked interesting and like the images that were reminiscent of I Love Lucy and some of the old Nick at Night stuff, and just the bizarre nature of it caught my eye. But then I read this tweet from Justin McElroy, one of the McElroy brothers, and he said, I can't believe how quickly I went from semi-caring about WandaVision to being unable to stop thinking about what an exciting direction this kind of story is for the MCU. And I basically went straight in and binged both episodes and started reading the old comic from 1982 after that.
So, which comic?
So they had 2 releases. It's Vision and the Scarlet Witch. There's a 4-issue release in 82 and a 12-issue release in 85. I only have read the 82 one so far. Hopefully by the time we do the episodes 3 and 4, I can get the rest read. But can we just talk about the past? Because I think we all know, Korey, that Vision had the Mind Stone ripped from his head last we saw him.
Yes, I think some of us learned that very recently, Josh.
I'm not an MCU guy besides me reading these specific comics. So I had to go back and watch the YouTube video of Vision being killed back to back.
Oh my gosh, you haven't seen Infinity War?
Wait, you didn't watch either of those, Josh?
I did see Infinity War. I have not seen Endgame yet still, but I honestly just forgot because I was so overwhelmed by how many characters. I had no idea who Vision was coming into this. So anyway,
I just got to say, just to speak on that real quick, Infinity War, my favorite Marvel movie. I fucking love that movie.
Oh, it's so fucking good.
I love seeing that gem get plucked out of Vision's fucking head. Like, it's like a light bulb, the way his head pops, right?
Yeah, and then he also loses all of his color.
Yes. I love that shit. But yeah, that is the last time we saw Vision alive and kicking anyway.
Yeah, it's a brutal scene because basically Scarlet Witch, his wife, has to kill him herself, and then Thanos rewinds time and kills him again. We all know the old story, but
crazy.
we go from that Vision, colorless, lifeless, on the ground, brain taken out, to where do we see him now in WandaVision?
So episode 1 starts off with like I don't even know what year type of sitcom this would be, like the 50s.
Yep.
Or something, and
50s.
you know, we see them like it's like they're newlyweds rolling into a brand new town, and everything's happy, and people are waving it to them driving by, and they have this new house, and we get some nice like visual, physical comedy with him walking through the door while he's carrying her, and she just slams into the door and falls down. And one thing, since you brought up the Mind Stone being ripped out of his head, there's a line like pretty early on in the episode where she's in the kitchen doing stuff, and I think he hits his head on a plate and it drops, and she's like, "There's my husband with his indestructible head."
Cue laugh track.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting. It's very different from anything we've seen so far, and I think like the older audience will appreciate like this style and aesthetic, but it's just, I mean, it's not going to last for these. I think it's just for these 2 episodes, but yeah, we're in a very different place with these 2 characters, and I think it's cool to see.
We should do a spoilers video where Thanos takes the Mind Stone out of his head, and we do a WandaVision laugh track to that. It's so funny.
Hey, this is good stuff.
Brett,
Yeah.
not only does the camera style and the cinematography and the look just speak to 1950s television, but also I think this first episode's plot.
I think we saw a lot of this over the first 2 episodes, but the first one, and I did a little research, is, you know, it's a really common 50s, 60s TV trope of your boss comes to dinner, and that's just kind of like the main theme of this first one, with all these other little tropes thrown in. Cy Abelman shows up with Kitty Foreman.
Cy Abelman?
I think if he was given enough time in this episode, he would have tried to have sex with Wanda, but
Or kill somebody.
Classic 50s TV.
Classic.
I think it's important to note that Wanda and Vision are trying to hide their powers, seemingly, from their neighbors and the townsfolk, I guess you could call them. The couple next door is named, I believe, Fred and Linda, which is very reminiscent to me of Fred and Ethel from I Love Lucy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's quite right, is it? Oh, I see. The couple that we don't see.
Yeah, we see Agnes and
Right, that's
her
it,
husband.
Agnes. I remember she had an old 50s sounding name.
Yes, so they have to do the dinner with the boss thing, and we'll kind of fast forward through that plot, but I do think there's a couple key moments at the table, and the camera kind of goes from I Love Lucy sitcom to like Hitchcock horror.
Like that, this is like an old sitcom. It's basically I Love Lucy, the first episode, which I think is really cool, by the way. I loved Nick at Night when I was a kid, and I got into all these old shows.
Same. Yes.
And I just love seeing this shit. Like, I seriously love it. But what we see happening is, you know, your old style 50s jokes, and they're trying to avoid all the social awkwardness, but the curtain starts to, I don't know, lift a little bit. Like, things start to break down. We can see, and we see this with the camera changes as well, but Cy Abelman starts choking at some point. That's not really his name, by the way. He's the boss. He's Vision's boss. But he starts choking at some point, and things like shift. Like, it's not supposed to be happening. I think when you're in this, you know, whatever multiverse that they're in, and you start questioning things, or you don't do things appropriately for this sitcom or show, it breaks the barrier down, and that's what we see happen there.
Yeah, so the barrier is broken and time kind of freezes, and Wanda tells Vision to save him. And so Vision jumps down and uses his, like, he can turn into a ghost basically.
Phasing.
So he turns his hand into a ghost hand, reaches into Cy's throat, grabs a piece of meat or bacon or whatever. Oh, that was going to be my starting question for tonight. What's your favorite dish to have breakfast for dinner? Because I have breakfast for dinner. But PK, just round us out here then for the episode, because not only does it start to break down here, but there's like a pan out from a TV. We look like we're in a surveillance van or something, and then we get like, after a whole black and white show, these really vivid credits. What does that all mean, man?
I'm pretty sure this is like not necessarily a different universe or a multiverse. I think it's like almost like a dream sequence that Wanda / Scarlet Witch is in somewhere, somehow. And I think the part of him choking is like, I watched a video before this and they were kind of saying he might be like a doctor or something, like who's trying to get answers out of her. And it's like whenever she gets uncomfortable or something, it's like almost like subconsciously she started choking him because he was getting like very like demandful about wanting to know where they came from and their story. And as soon as he like slapped the table down, started getting mad, he started choking. And then it took her a while to be like, all right, Vision, you can save him. So I think a lot of this is happening in her head.
I'm going to be a little disappointed, though, if, like, in episode 8 or 9, we get the reveal that, like, Wanda's been in a straitjacket in a mental hospital the whole time. That'd be a little...
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
No, Korey?
Nah.
I also, there was one of the ads, apparently, instead of saying streaming January something, the guy literally says new series Dreaming on Disney Plus. So that's like a potential clue too.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Josh. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that was it. Actually, you were still kind of finishing us out with like the surveillance van and whatnot.
But yeah, they sit down on the couch and have a classic like 50s sitcom ending. It kind of slowly pans out. It starts the credits and it's like you're watching a real show. Then it jumps into like the full screen aspect ratio, and then yeah, like you said, it zooms in. You're in like a surveillance van, and we see a sword logo on one of the screens, which is apparently like a space version of Shield.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, they're being watched by somebody. I think
Space Force.
They have her in some type of facility or something, and they're like watching what's going on in her mind. So I literally have no idea. That's kind of what I'm thinking, but it could literally be anything at this point.
So she is in a straitjacket. I don't want her to be.
Nah. I don't think they'll do that. It's a little too easy.
I feel like she should be like too powerful for that. Like she could dream and also be kicking people's ass in the real world, maybe.
So I mean, her powers are reality bending powers.
Yeah, but not in the MCU though, really. I mean, like, she's super depowered in the MCU.
But
compared to what she is in the comics.
Hey, we're in a new phase.
She did get her powers from the Reality Stone, I believe. So she can grow into that, I think.
Okay, I can handle that.
There's a really telling moment in this first episode, and then we'll move on to the second one, where they're like, hey, we don't have wedding rings, and Vision's just like, hey, make us some. And it's almost like Vision and Wanda are making up their past as they go, too.
Today could be our anniversary.
Of what? Surviving our first dinner party?
Precisely. And our song could be?
Yakety yak, naturally.
Naturally.
And the rings?
Well, couldn't you make some for us? I do. Do you?
Yes, I do.
And they lived happily ever after.
Let's move on to episode 2. The newly married couple has to enter a talent show. Again, we see a lot of the same old townsfolk, and I love to see those people. They add a lot of joy, I feel like, to these episodes.
Yeah.
But Kylo, where does Wanda go? She goes to like this mother's club.
I believe the intention is that it's moved up to the 60s in the next one, early 60s. And it's kind of become Bewitched because it has the Bewitched style intro, the animated.
So cool.
Yeah,
which is awesome. And again, I love this shit. So like seeing that was like pretty exciting for me. The fact that they like put the time and the care into making the intro that way, just probably for this one episode. In fact, almost certainly, because I think it's going to go up through the decades as we go. But what Wanda's doing is she's having her like little weird 60s like social engagement with like the whatever head mom in the town, while Vision's over there trying to like fit in with human beings and being pretty awkward about it.
There's like another moment where Wanda almost wakes up from her dream, or reality is kind of bent again.
Yeah, I don't remember what kicks it off, but things start to like shake up a little bit in that scenario as well, and we get a little bit of the Pleasantville, where we start to see like colors coming through in this black and white TV show, starting with, I forget that woman's name, but starting with her blood. Well, not starting with, but we see her bleed.
Yeah, like a helicopter toy fell in their bush, and it was like the Stark copter.
Yeah.
Oh, was it? I didn't notice that.
I think so.
I think that one even had one of those sword logos on it too.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Brett, I wanted to toss it to you for the Vision side of this episode, the Old Boys Club, and we also see a little bit of Vision at his job, and I think he has the same job as Chandler Bing, right?
Yeah, he's a transponster, I think. For all the Friends fans, if you don't watch Friends, you don't get that joke. Yeah, he's like super awesome at it, but he has no idea what he does. That's the difference between him and Chandler. Chandler knows what he does, just nobody else does. So he's just really good at it. He doesn't even know what they do or what they make. But yeah, that's more in the first episode. But in the second one, actually, I had a question for the group. We were talking about TV tropes earlier, and one thing that I thought was really cool is another little trope is they're sitting in single beds because, as everyone knows, even married couples like Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball, who were married in real life, they could not share a bed together on TV. And I don't know if you noticed that. I don't know when it changed, 70s maybe. But I really liked how they started that. And then they're like, wait, this is dumb. And then they move their beds together. I'm trying to think if there's any other things like that in the first two episodes where they kind of go through a sign of the times and changes.
In the second episode, she's wearing pants at that Mothers Against Drunk Driving club, and everyone else is wearing a skirt.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I like that. But yeah, sorry. I don't know why, other than for comedic effect, why they're both so scaredy cats in that scene. Is that just for funsies or what? I mean, they're
I think it's
terrified
just
of that sound.
to emulate this kind of TV show at the time.
Okay.
I think that's how they would write that.
But anyway, so he's scared and he kind of forces himself into a neighborhood watch type deal. And, none of them know him, but he's got all these great ideas and they kind of just talk about stupid stuff. And then what I think is the funniest part of either two episodes, the whole storyline of him eating the gum. I thought him drunk Vision type was super hilarious. I thought it was going to be super awkward, but that scene with the magic show was my favorite 5 minutes of the whole series so far.
He really reminded me of Drop Dead Fred during that whole time. He was looking like him. He was doing mannerisms like Rick Mayall's the guy. He just reminded me of Rick Mayall. Anyway.
I love that you say all that, Brett, because I actually have in my notes to linger on this section. After the old boys meeting, I don't know if it's supposed to be symbolic of the way a 60s TV show might use drugs metaphorically, but Vision eats gum, and they have a really cool animation where it shows it gumming up the works, and he gets effectively drunk from gum. It's very stereotypical drunk / maybe cocaine type of behavior.
Yeah.
And it's just in time for the talent show. I was very excited, Brett, even from the start when that witchy woman that heads up that Mothers Club is introducing them. I was just pumped for this scene to unfold.
See, I was full of nerves, but that's just how I am. That's why I was so pumped. That's why I liked it so much, is because it was so funny to me and so well done. And I was like, oh, whew.
Every little gag, I don't know, could deserve a shout out. What did you guys like in here?
Well, it's just funny because, they have this whole act planned out, and it's just gonna be kind of a simple magic show, and then all of a sudden, drunk Vision comes in and doesn't give a fuck, and he's just showing off all his powers. He just starts floating and flying, and they're all all their faces just change. And they're like, what? And then just her scrambling around trying to figure out a way to make it realistic and a trick is fantastic. The piano part was awesome, where she just turned it into a thing of cardboard and whoops, or something like that.
That little throwaway line where that was my grandmother's piano or something. That's pretty funny.
There's great throwaway lines like that. There's one trick that he does where he just he goes ahead and turns into a ghost like he can do, and he passes his hat right through his stomach. And the way that Scarlet Witch covers up for it is by revealing that behind this curtain there's a bunch of mirrors. And like there's a throwaway line from one of the townsfolk that's like, I didn't know mirrors worked like that.
That's really funny. Korey, you don't like comedy. What did you think of this scene?
Oh, I love this shit, dude. I'm in for it. I love everything about these 2 episodes.
He's in. You're right.
But my favorite part of the magic show is definitely Wanda's outfit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She is freaking gorgeous, even in black and white.
Even in black and white.
And she's like 18 years younger or something like that than Paul Bettany.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. She's younger than you, me. He's in his late 40s. She's like 31.
She's just so gorgeous, and her legs look so huge, like long, when she's like in the magician's talent show. Her performance, I just think, is really good. I think there's a lot of good performances in here, but that kind of rounds out episode 2. They get out of the talent show not only unscathed, but they win the award for like being most hilarious or something like that. PK, you fill us in on episode 1 ending. Fill us in on the bizarre ending in episode 2, please.
Yeah, they get home and it's kind of like wrapping up like the first episode, and they sit down on the couch, and which I don't know if it's a different house, but it might be kind of like Korey said, it's like a different decade, so the house is like set up differently.
It does appear to be a different set.
She makes some type of comment about they need popcorn or something, and all of a sudden she gets up and she's pregnant, and like it kind of throws it back to where they had their little fun under the covers at the beginning of the episode. And yeah, then they hear like the same noise that like bashed on their window from the beginning, and they walk outside and a manhole cover comes off, and this dude in like a beekeeping outfit with bees flying around him,
it's Pennywise,
climbs out. Pennywise the beekeeper. He comes out, and he's got
a sword.
He does have the sword on his back, and they give you, it's almost like a really creepy shot of him like looking right at the camera, but you can't see his face. It's all covered in shadows, and it's just like, it just adds to the mystery of like, who could that be? Or even if it's like not the character they think it is, it's like, who is that supposed to represent and stuff like that. And then she says no, kind of like the first episode where she tells Vision to save the boss. She says no, and everything rewinds back to where they're on the couch, and she's like, basically, that's why I kind of think she has somewhat of a control over the place with her subconscious. It's like whenever she gets uncomfortable, it's like everything changes.
Yeah.
And then they kiss and everything turns into color, and I think that's where kind of Korey said the decade's going to change for the next episode, and everything, it'll be like this like 70s or late 60s, and everything's going to be in color.
No more bees.
That whole scene kind of revolves around this moment where she becomes pregnant kind of instantly. Does it disturb you at all when she like looks at Vision in his eyes and is like, is this real? And he's like, yes, this is definitely real.
No. Vision, is this really happening?
Yes, my love. It's really happening.
Yeah, that is a little bit eerie, because we, the audience, know that it's not real in the strictest sense of the word. Like, it might be her changing reality, but it's not their, prime continuity.
He dead.
Without knowing anything about where this is going, I'm kind of like, it seems to me like they're almost like torturing her, but she's so powerful that they're like attacking her subconscious, maybe, that she's escaped into, and they keep trying to penetrate it, but she just keeps making like her idyllic happiness of what her life is, and that's where like the red thing comes from Stark. And I don't know if you remember, the watch was had a Hydra symbol on it.
Mm-hmm. Who's doing this to you, Wanda? Yeah, I'm glad I wanted to talk about those commercials. I'm glad you brought that up.
So it's almost just kind of like a supernatural thing to me. Again, it's probably way off. It's just kind of how I'm thinking in my head. It's like kind of like mental attacks on her, and she's fighting them off with her idea of what an ideal life would be. So
I read somewhere that the commercials are kind of a representation of like her traumatic past and like traumatic events that have happened to her, because like the Stark Industries commercial, the toaster in episode 1 is like, it's apparently supposed to represent like the bomb that killed her family. Like that, because the first time you see the toast pop up, it's like burnt like immediately. That's like kind of what happened to her parents. And then the second one with the Stark Industries thing, first off, when they push it down, it makes like the Iron Man like charge up sound. And then it has like a like beeping, kind of like a bomb. And apparently, you know, like there was a Stark Industries bomb that landed like right in front of her and her brother that like never detonated. So they just like stared at it for a while. And I think in episode 2, the Strucker watch with the Hydra logo, apparently Strucker is like the name of one of the like Hydra agents that I think tortured her and her brother when they were young.
Oh,
it kind of makes sense. So I'm curious to see what type of like things they do in the following episodes, if they continue to do these commercials, and see if they continue to like add different clues and context to kind of what's going on with her.
I want to say a couple things. In the second episode, when Vision has the gum, when he's, you know, and it's in his like stomach, and you see those mechanical drawings of it in there, I love that. Like it's just so cool to see these throwbacks. But also, when watching this show, I can't help but like link it in my mind with what was the name of that Marvel event? House of M, which was a very famous storyline they did in Marvel, where she basically took everyone in the Marvel universe and created an alternate reality. Like she was that powerful.
Yeah, there was apparently an M, like a big M on one of the wine bottles, I think from episode 1.
Wow.
That could be a link.
I mean, the big question among the fandom is, how is Marvel going to bring mutants into the fold? And if you know House of M, you know that she basically eliminates most mutants in that storyline with the famous "No More Mutants" line. I think somehow this might end up being the opposite of that. Instead of no more mutants, like, I don't know, just mutants or something like that. Something to bring them in instead of take them out.
Can I tell you a tidbit I picked up from the 82 comic?
Go ahead.
Well, it's revealed that Wanda's father is Magneto.
Yes.
Yeah, I knew that.
Is that an easy way to bring in the X-Men and that universe?
Well, that's why I kind of just said it's like, it could be like her kids, you know, that like they could be a new wave of mutants when, like, now that she's pregnant.
But here's another thing that I thought was really weird that I learned from the old comics is that, okay, this is complicated, but Vision, or the Vision as he's called, is made from like Ultron 5, right? But he's like a combination of the soul and brain waves of this man named Simon Williams, who also shares the same brain waves as Wonder Man. And somehow, like, the original Human Torch's body and brain fits into the story, too. It's really freaking bizarre. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I think that what they did is, when Ultron made Vision, he used Wonder Man to make him. But there was, like, 2 Human Torches, and, like, it was based on his body, Human Torch's body, but Wonder Man's mind or some shit.
It's weird, man.
Well, didn't in like the MCU, this like MCU version, it's basically Jarvis, like from Tony Stark. It's like his mind, or like the Jarvis computer, like humanified or personified. I have no clue.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to remember. I think Banner says something like Vision is a combination of Jarvis, Tony Stark, and Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, if there's no other further notes, let's do yes or no's in the same order that we started the pod. In the past, we've done a who can throw it to Spoiler Man sort of trivia, and maybe we can do a really quick one of that. So at the end of your yes or no, I want you to answer this question, okay? The Vision first appeared in the Avengers issue number 57. That was all the way back in 1968. PK, give us your yes or no, and then tell us how tall the Vision is.
Oh, that's a good one. Definitely yes for me. I heard some stuff about like a lot of people giving this kind of some crap on social media and like just saying how confusing it is and how different and weird it is. But it's like people gotta understand there's gonna be 10 episodes, I believe. So it's like you gotta give it time, and it's supposed to be a mystery. So they're not just gonna give you all the answers. This is like definitely the most complex thing we've seen in the MCU so far, and I think it's a good way to kick off Phase 4 and like the new era of Marvel. And one thing we didn't talk about is I think there are a couple townsfolk characters that are gonna play a way bigger role in the show, like Agnes. I don't know who exactly she is, but from the one trailer I did see, like they showed her in like the real world, so I think she might be like the main villain or one of the main villains of the show eventually. But and then the black lady that they put like in the
Geraldine.
magic trick at the end, yeah, I believe she is Monica Rambeau, who was the little girl from Captain Marvel, and she like ends up having superpowers and stuff. So I'm not sure how big a role she'll play like right away, but I think she's gonna end up having a pretty big role in this show. And so yes for both. And I will say in the comics he's gonna be 7'3". So yeah, that's my guess.
Well, Brett, give us your yes or no and your guess.
Yeah, this is a definite yes for me. I really, really dig this kind of stuff. Even if you take all of the extra stuff tying it to the MCU with all the mystery and which I dig, don't get me wrong, even if you took all that away, I'd watch this show. I'd watch seasons of the show of them in the 50s or them in the 60s. I know it's like corny jokes and everything, but it really, really worked for me, and I just really, really like the performances and the cast and everything like that. And my guess for the trivia is 8'3".
That's a
Is
tall
this
boy.
is this a closest to type thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm next, right? Yes. This is Korey. Hard yes. I love this. Brett basically said everything I was about to say, but fuck the mystery box. Just give me this and I'm good with it. Like, every decade of random sitcoms. I'm looking forward to the Brady Bunch one. I saw the trailer. I know they're doing Brady Bunch. I'm very excited for that. But yeah, I'm just in for this. Like, it can just keep going this way. Never tell me, and I'll be fine. Like, I don't need to know what's going on behind the scenes. I really like this a lot. Definite yes. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go 6'5".
Well, Paul Bettany, who plays Vision in this, is 6'3" in real life to Elizabeth Olsen's 5'6". And actually, the Vision is also 6'3" in the comics. So, very realistic.
I don't remember him ever being giant.
Brett, before Korey throws it to Spoiler Man, how can people support Spoilers?
Yeah, you can support us by going to Apple iTunes, leaving us a review. That'd be really cool. We actually just started a Patreon, and it would be awesome if you could support us by becoming a patron. You could check us out, follow us on our social media. We have an IG, Twitter, Facebook, all stuff like that. And you can just support us just by listening. Those plays help us out a lot. So anything you could do to support us would be awesome.
Patreon.com/Spoilers Podcast
/
I think any sort of slash. I think you could put any slash in there.
Backslash won't work.
You can search for Spoilers on Patreon, and we are the one that has Tara Reid from Big Lebowski, where she says, "I'll suck your blank for $1,000 or whatever." Pappy loves that gag.
Before Korey throws it to Spoiler Man, I just wanted to say, how good does it feel to be back talking about some Marvel / MCU? This is how I started on the pod. My first episode was Guardians Volume 2. If I was as well versed as Pappy, I'd drop the episode number, but I don't know what episode it was. But yeah, it's good to be back talking about some superheroes and especially this new style. So can't wait to talk about it again.
Josh, did we get your yes or no?
Oh man,
he doesn't even know the own format.
That's true. Forgot about myself. I'm so humble. I'll just go quickly. Yeah, I'll give it a yes. My only thing I was going to say is mirroring Korey and Brett, and that I'm disappointed it's moving so quickly. I feel like I would like the pacing of it being like the whole first season is in I Love Lucy, and then the second season is Bewitched. I could live here for a while. They could still keep doing like little tiny clues, and that's great. I love the way you described it earlier, Brett. But yeah, I think that's the same like criticism I levied at Disney Plus's The Mandalorian. Like, just slow down a little bit. But that's it. Korey, you won trivia, closest to the Vision's height in the comics.
All right, here we go. Take it away, Spoiler Man.
Spoiler Man here. Our email is podcastspoilers@gmail.com. Twitter is @spoilers_pod. Our Instagram is podcast spoilers. It's lit. Josh Hensley from the Rutabaga wrote our theme song.
My wife and her flying saucers.
My husband and his indestructible head.
That was Spoilers.